trained how to swallow their saliva in space?
There it is. Check it out, guys. That is so exciting. Incredible.
Hello my friends, I'm Kyle Thompson. This is Research Flat Earth. And as always, welcome back.
Over 100 years ago, the Hawaiian Gazette published a story about a map that was made in the 10th century.
This newly discovered map is drawn on the principles of the Mercator projection, echoes the current accepted flat Earth model, as well as the UN flag. However, there is one significant difference, and that is that our dome is surrounded by dozens of islands.
Reputed to be drawn by Chinese priests, the manuscript was hidden away from authorities for centuries. However, a letter found claims that the map was actually drawn by Buddhist priests much earlier in time.
The article goes on to read, "The map was found by my brother in a Japanese temple in the mountains of Japan," said Dr. Kabayashi. "It has been hidden from the Japanese government in modern times, just as it was in ancient times. For in olden days, such a map would have been destroyed by the authorities."
This begs the question, why would the authorities be so concerned about a map that they would destroy it?
So what is the truth about where we live? Do we live on a globe, flying through space? Do we live inside of a dome? Are we living on an endless plain? Or are there dozens of civilizations watching and waiting for us to remember who we are and where we come from?
any confusion or misunderstanding of who we are here, who I am in particular, and what this platform stands for. So, you know, I'll get right to it. You know, for me, 2 years ago, I asked the question came to me, you know, is it true that this place that I'm living and experiencing is actually a sphere? Now, when I delved into that, I found it to be nothing but religious hogwash, and I will go through in a wee minute the 10 best reasons they know the earth is round and highlight exactly why it's religious hogwash. For me, I have never been religious. I have never been into, you know, crazy spiritual ideas or religious ideologies or any of these things. For me, you know, I focus purely on natural science. For me, my whole life, my attitude has been any claims that are made to me, you need to show me, or I am not going to, you know, put any belief into it. And again, you know, I'll say it now, beliefs and faith for me are mind viruses. They have no place in human existence whatsoever. You know, the only way for me to have a sane experience is to know, to actually experience things, not take things on hearsay or believe things blindly, you know. And again, these words for me, you know, language is a matter of understanding. So belief for me is something you hold to be true, especially something that has no proof, right? So belief doesn't even come into it for me. This question is about the objective reality. It is an objective question, and I've said it to people many times. If you doubt that there is an objective reality, you know, take a newborn mind, drop a brick on it, and tell me that there is no objective reality. Okay, there is an objective world here, and it can be experienced by people. It can be measured and explored by everybody. So I applied that attitude when it came to this question. And in natural science, it requires observable, measurable, testable, repeatable. If it is reality, you should be able to scale it and show it in any scale. So if it doesn't come into that criteria for me, then it's not to be entertained as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, here, this is the main point for people. When you hear flat earth or you see flat earth in the titles here, I am the one who says flat earth. There's a reason why I put flat earth in the title, so it's up to me to define what flat earth means. If you come to me with a preconception of what flat is, that's your problem. That's not my problem. You know, we can't have generalising going on, and that's a deliberate ploy, was to put straw men out there, you know, the straw men being flat maps and models, whatever it might be, because the reality of the situation is this, and I'll give you an analogy. If you have, you know, a tribe of people who are captive on a group of islands, say, you know, maybe 10 miles apart, and you have convinced those tribes of people that the islands that they share are part of a sphere. Okay? Now, as they may have believed that for 100 years, as time goes on, they question the validity of you telling them that they lived on a sphere. They find that there is absolutely zero proof that they live on a sphere. So along comes a sphere believer and demands that these people who have been held captive on these islands their whole life represent a straw man, and that the globe believer or the sphere believer demands that they answer questions on the full dimensions of where they are. Now that is absolutely preposterous, okay? Ridiculous. You stick to the claim. Here I stick to the claim, which was a globe. That's what was pushed to me. The globe is false. It's a lie. The reality of the situation is now, I do not know where I am. Nobody I know knows exactly where they are. The full dimensions are unknown. So the real flat model is we do not know. It requires further inquiry. It requires full exploration in order to falsify or verify anybody's maps, models or claims. It's as simple as that. In science, you're allowed to say you do not know. That is how you have progress. When you start claiming you know something, when you don't, you're not going to progress. So the real science, real scientific method has the ability to stand still and say, we do not know. We can falsify the claims that are put to us, and that is it. So on this platform, we do not represent any maps or models. The represented claim here is the globe is a lie. There is zero proof for a globe. Now we do not know where we are. Simple as that, end of story. But you have so much deliberate push with these maps and models, and for me it's to muddy the waters and to cause confusion. And you will see them deliberately calling it a debate. The natural world, you do not debate. The natural world, the objective reality, does not require your belief, your wishes, your desires. It is what it is, regardless of whether you are alive, breathing, eyes open, eyes shut. Okay? So, you do not debate it. I know that fire will burn me. Right? Fire is an element, a part of reality. If I go into water, I know if I inhale the water, I will drown. Right? There is no debating the natural world. Water does not conform to the exterior of shapes. Bodies of water do not hold and display convexity. Right? I know that to be true because that's reality. Water is a natural element, testable, measurable, repeatable by every single person alive. Okay? So, you do not debate the natural world, the elements, the laws. Right? So when people call it a debate and they come asking for debate, that tells me that you have two opposing sides with ideology. Natural science is not interested in people's ideas, people's wishes, desires and beliefs. Right? So on this platform, people are welcome to come and have discussion. Right? It can only be discussed. And if you're making claims about the objective world, it must meet the criteria of observable, measurable, testable and repeatable. It's as simple as that. Okay? So, you know, and again, this platform, I started this platform because there's so many people, maybe confused people, maybe people who deliberately push these ideas that muddy the waters. But here I wanted to stick purely to the subject. The subject I'm interested in is what shape is the earth I'm upon, or within, whatever you like. You know, I'm not interested in religious ideas. I'm not interested in text from books. I'm not interested in any of these things. Right? I'm not interested in whether dinosaurs were real or no. I'm not interested in any other subject. This subject is a subject on its own. Okay? No, people will try and associate and put labels and attach other subjects to this subject, but you're not going to get that here. That's not how it works in this platform. I don't represent anybody else. Nobody else involved in it represents me. Right? This is a platform purely for inquiring people who realise what they've been told is nonsense and who now want to discover and progress. Right? That's what's happening here at this platform. And that's it. For anybody curious, I'm going to show and highlight the reasons why the globe is religious jargon. It is total nonsensical crap. Right? And I'm going to play this 2.5 minute clip of the 10 best proofs that you know you live in a globe, just to highlight it, you know, for the new people. It's only 2 minutes long. I'm not going to show the visual in case of copyright, but you should hear it in the background. And I will pause it and express. Okay, so.
Number 10. All the other planets and stars we've ever seen are round, and there's no reason to indicate that the Earth should be any different.
Oh, how fucking scientific. Right, now, this is a logical fallacy, right, and it fucking grates on me and pisses me off. There's circles in the sky, therefore I live on a circle. It's the same as saying the pool balls are round, therefore the table is round. Or, look, here's some apples, they are proof you live on a banana. Or, you know, let's look out of the window of our home in order to measure the contents of our home. It's absolute fucking lunacy. It's no scientific, it's bollocks.
Number 9. Time zones. Day and night happen at different times at different places on Earth. In fact, it's always day somewhere and night somewhere else.
Okay, so it's dark somewhere and it's light somewhere. Therefore, the Earth is a fucking spinning sphere pair. This is not science, people, okay? If you have a local light source, you're going to have dark spots, you're going to have a light spot. Okay? If you doubt that, go to a large field, you know, maybe a large playing field with many football parks in it or whatever. You know, get yourself a floodlight, hold it 10, 20 feet above, pointing down on the park. Go to the other end of the park and tell me if it's lighting it up. I guarantee you it's not going to be lighting it up. The other end of the park will be in darkness, okay? So again, we don't have any measurable proof that the Earth is a sphere by this. This is number 9. We have light and we have dark. Still zero measurable proof that the Earth is a globe.
Number 8. The Coriolis effect means freely moving things like cannonballs or hurricane winds are deflected to the right, but only if you're north of the equator. If you're south of the equator, they're deflected left. Number 7.
Okay, so here we have more bollocks. The Earth is spinning. Things that leave the Earth's surface are affected by the Earth's spin. Only when it suits them. Okay? Because you ask a simple question, okay, a helicopter taking off from the Earth goes against the spin, it's now going against the motion of the Earth that it is now left. Why is it not taking a shorter time to get from one end to the other? If your journey takes 2 hours going east, why is it not different going west? Okay? They only want to invoke it when it fucking suits them. Alright? The reality of the situation is that there is absolutely zero scientific proof, experimentation that shows that the Earth moves. They have anecdotal bollocks like this. Oh, the wind goes the opposite direction. Oh, the water goes down the drain the opposite direction. What about planes and helicopters and people jumping and cannons being fired? I mean, why does the Earth not spin under them? Oh, because magic. They just want to, you know, invoke it when it suits them. Still zero scientific, measurable proof that the Earth is a sphere.
7. Triangles. Walk 10,000 kilometers straight along the Earth's surface, turn 90 degrees to your right, walk 10,000 kilometers more, turn right again, and walk another 10,000 kilometers. You'll be back to where you started, having successfully made a triangle with 3 90-degree angles.
Okay, so we're at number 7 now, and it's getting absolutely ridiculous. I have watched this many times, but no matter how many times I watch it, it infuriates me because of the utter lunacy and the downright ignorance of people to walk about calling this science. Okay, so where is the queue of people who have walked 10,000 kilometres in one direction, turned 90 degrees, walked 10,000 kilometres, and then turned another 90 degrees and walked another 10,000 kilometres? Still zero measurable proof that the Earth is a sphere.
As any geometry student can tell you, this is impossible on a flat surface. Number 6. The sun, in general, gets lower and lower in the sky as you travel away from the equator, and you can use this to directly measure the Earth's curvature. Pick 2 places a few hundred miles directly north and south of each other, and at noon, measure the shadows cast by a vertical meter stick at each location.
I'm just going to get back a wee minute here.
Vertical meters for the shadows pick 2 places as you travel away from the equator. In general, gets lower and lower in the sky as you travel away from the equator, and you can use this to directly measure the Earth's curvature. Pick 2 places a few hundred miles directly north and south of each other, and at noon, measure the shadows cast by a vertical meter stick at each location. You can use the shadow lengths to figure out the angle between the sticks, and once you add in how far apart they are, you can calculate the Earth's curvature.
Again, zero measurable proof that the Earth is a sphere. I'll go back to the other point. You take a local light source. Everybody can try this themselves. Get yourself a floodlight, put it 10, 20 feet above the area that you're in. Put a stick here and put a stick here. Put the light source in the middle of those sticks and you're going to get different shadows. Okay. Zero measurable proof that the Earth is a sphere yet again.
Number 5. The stars at night change as you go north or south. For example, Orion is upside down if you're in Australia. Number 4.
So, I'm sure people know what a red herring is. And looking at the sky is a red herring. Okay? You do not get measurable proof of the shape of Earth you are upon by gazing into the sky. It's the exact same as I explained earlier. You do not get measurable data or information of the contents of your home by looking out of the window. Okay? The other point to this is nobody knows what the luminaries are. Nobody knows exactly what the sun, the moon, the stars are, what they're made of, exactly where they are. Nobody. Okay? And there are so many anomalies with the sky observations when you go to various altitudes. But again, I'm not going to digress into that. We're looking for measurable proof that the Earth is actually a sphere. Now, so far we have had nothing that shows you measurable proof that the Earth you're upon is a sphere.
Ferdinand Magellan, and many people afterwards, circumnavigated the Earth. That means he left, headed west, continued going west, and came back to where he started, still going west. Actually, Magellan was dead, but one of his ships, led by Juan Sebastian Elcano, finished the journey.
So not only are we getting a story here, a hearsay story, an illogical fucking nonsense about people 200 years ago. The guy never even completed it. He died. I mean, come on, people. This is no scientific proof. This is religious fucking crap. Stories from 200 years ago about great explorers. I'm not even going to say any more on this fucking nonsense.
If you head west and circumnavigate the Earth yourself, you'll be able to tell because you'll observe one fewer sunrise than everyone who stays at home. Number 3. The horizon. Ships on the ocean or tall Chicago buildings viewed over Lake Michigan disappear bottom first. And you can see the sunset twice if you watch it lying down.
Okay, so we'll go to the first wee point of this. Note that when they do this, now this is sophism. Look into what sophism means. Sophism is something, an argument that is designed deliberately to deceive people. Now here, and you will see this very often, they invoke over bodies of water, ships disappear, right? Never over land, only over water, because there is a problem with moisture in the air. There is an optical problem when we view things over water, okay? Now, here's the thing. Ships go over the curvature of the water. Bodies of water on Earth, natural physics, provable, testable by every single person alive, very basic physics here. Bodies of water on Earth do not conform to the exterior of shapes. Bodies of water here on Earth do not hold and display convexity. Water is not jelly, right? So when we understand that whatever we're viewing over water comes down to optics, and it's something that has to be understood, right? Now, the ridiculousness of that is, look at the ship going over the curvature of the Earth at 12 miles, right? Left to right, I'm seeing 80 to 100 miles. Zero curvature. So, contradictions here. Again, it's sophism. They are playing on our lacking understanding of perception and how our eyes work. This is why they do it over water, because of the effect, the illusion that is created when we're viewing things over water. Right? We know the water is level and parallel. There is no deviation in height, or there's no angle to it. Standing here at a level and looking at a body of water curving away from me, the water would flow. That's reality. That's natural physics. That's the reality we are in. Okay? Again, this is not scientific, what they're offering here. There is absolutely, we're now at number 3, and there is zero measurable proof that the Earth is a globe.
Stand up. The simple fact is, if the Earth were flat, there wouldn't be a horizon beyond which things could disappear. So from across Lake Michigan, you'd be able to see all of Chicago.
So, If the earth was flat, there wouldn't be a horizon to... I mean, these people are crackpots. You know, I don't even think they're inquiring into these fucking ridiculous points that they make. Okay? Even if we had a perfectly flat, smooth surface for 50 miles, you will not see beyond a certain...
You'll know that probably the biggest topic that's been being talked about and even dividing people is the map, because everybody knows that there's problems with the map. In fact, if you're watching, say, Lori Frere's channel, Flat Earth Conspiracy, you'll see that her and Lawrence Wright, have devoted the last few shows, the last 3 shows, to perusing this map problem, because there are serious problems with the map. Now, since about a month or so ago, I've been commenting on certain people's videos, trying to encourage them to look into what we know of concerning directions and what we understand about directions from the Bible. Whether or not you're a flat earther and question the Bible, or maybe just don't believe the Bible, any way you look at it, the Bible is the most accurate historical and geographical document we have. This has been verified again and again by honest archaeologists and historians. So I think that it's only wise and prudent for us to use the Bible to try to figure out what's going on with the map. And I've been noticing, I've been noticing a lot of problems as I've been looking at the Bible and reading virtually all of the modern English translations that we have. And I just want to go over some of these things with you. What we're used to seeing as a map, when we think of the world, is something like this. This is the Gall Peters projection map. And we would look at this map and we would naturally think, okay, the north is this way, and then the south is this way, east is this way, and west is this way. And the problem I have with that, if we'll go to more of this is a map of the Mideast, okay? And this map is laid out per what we think of as north, south, east, and west as directions. Now, this is the problem I started running into quite some time ago. We go to Genesis chapter 11, and we start at verse 1. And it says, "The whole earth was of one language and one speech. It happened as they traveled east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they lived there." Okay. Now, the problem with that is if you go 2 chapters back, you will see that it says, we'll go 3 chapters back. Okay, we see the ark rests on Ararat. So we see that the ship rested in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month on Ararat's mountains. Okay, that is not Mount Ararat as we know it today in Turkey. That is the Ararat Mountains. I'll go back to the Mideast map. The Ararat Mountains stretch from this region of Turkey into Iran. They are very big. Okay? So we've had more modern explorers, and actually even some from a few centuries ago that we don't hear a lot about, who went looking for that ark. And many, many explorers and Bible scholars, they believe that the ark actually came to rest here. The mountains of Ararat. This is still the mountains of Ararat. It's just not Mount Ararat here. It's the mountains of Ararat. Now here's the problem. Shinar. Shinar is right down in here. And in fact, the historical Babylon is right here. So you've got the mountains of Ararat, the spot where most good historians have pinpointed the Ark's landing to be. And then you have this here. That is direct, quote-unquote, south from where they were supposedly landed. Now, even if they landed on what we call Mount Ararat in this area, it's still southward. It's still southward with the slightest bearing eastward as we understand directions. So that's a problem because, excuse me, if you're like me, then you believe that the Bible is inerrant. So there's no way they're here, which this is where all of civilization started from after the flood. They landed in the mountains of Ararat, they multiplied from here, and then they traveled to Shinar here. That doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. So we're going to fast forward a little bit now, up to a very key chapter, okay? And this is Genesis 13. And it reads, and I am going to have to start in verse 1, and I'm going to have to read a pretty good deal of this so that you can kind of see where I'm coming from. All right, here goes. Starting in verse 1. Abraham went up out of Egypt, he, his wife, all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. That's a problem, south. We'll talk about that. Abraham was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. He went on his journeys from the south, that's the same word, we'll talk about that, even to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar, which he had made there at the first. There Abram called the name of Yahweh. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. The land was not able to bear them, that they might live together, for their substance was great, so that they could not live together. There was a strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite lived in the land at the same time. Abraham said to Lot, "Please let there be no strife between me and you, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are relatives. Isn't the whole land before you? Please separate yourself from me. If you go to the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right hand, then I will go to the left." Lot lifted up his eyes and saw all the plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Egypt, as you go to Zoar. So Lot chose the plain of the Jordan for himself. Lot traveled east, and they separated themselves, the one from the other. Okay, so again here it says Lot traveled east. So if I go here, this is a map of the area of Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, here is Jerusalem, and this map is situated in a way that puts north where we believe it to be south, east, and west, okay? So between Bethel and Ai, that's where they were, because that's where Abraham started out. You can see that in the previous chapter. So Abraham went as Yahweh had spoken to him with Lot. He was 75 years old. He took Sarah his wife, and all this from Haran into Canaan. Abram passed through the land of the place of Shechem to the oak of Moreh. The Canaanite was then in the land. Yahweh appeared to Abram. He said, "I will give this land." He built an altar, and he said he left there to the mountain on the east of Bethel. He pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. Okay, so the thing is, Bethel is right about here, okay? And Ai is to the south, just quote-unquote easterly. Okay? So they're not situated as we look on a standard map, east and west. They're more situated north and south. And we'll get to that. But, okay, so here is Abraham and Lot in Genesis chapter 13. It says, Lot lifted up his eyes. He saw that the plain was well watered. Okay, so he's looking towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's where Lot dwelt. From this area, he dwelt in the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, which virtually all archaeologists will agree that it's in this area where the Dead Sea now resides, which was not there at the time, it's believed. So Sodom and Gomorrah and Zoar, the 5 cities of the plain, were all in this area. Here we go. We've got Ai and Bethel. We've got the cities of the plain. Now, it just said in Genesis 13, Lot traveled east. He's here, they're there. Does that look eastward? It doesn't. To me, it looks like it's southward. So, if you take a Mideastern map, and like I've done here, I've rotated this map counterclockwise, not quite 90 degrees, and we're not completely zoomed in. I might have one that's actually a little bit closer. Here we go. This is a map of Israel, and I've done the same thing. This is not quite 90, and all of these are at slightly different angles because I just did them by eye. Okay, so here we have Bethel and Ai. This is where Abraham and Lot were. Okay. Here's the cities of the plain. This is where they were, okay? Here and here. In fact, I can probably take this document, and it would actually be even more helpful because I'm not actually finished completely with my rotation. I'll try to get them all at about the right angle. All right, that's better. So zooming back in. All right, Bethel and Ai. Now what's interesting is in chapter 12, it said that Abraham pitched his tent between Bethel and Ai. It said he had Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. Now this looks a little bit more right, because if you turn this the standard direction, Bethel is to the northwest of Ai. Here we have them. Well, it's a lot better. Now that looks like west and that looks like east. And if Lot, like in Genesis 13, travels east to the cities of the plain, he'd be going this way. Now that looks a little bit more right to me. So if we go back to this Middle Eastern map, we have Israel here, the Mediterranean here. Okay, so as I said, the mountains of Ararat are all in this area here. So if everyone who had landed in the mountains of Ararat traveled eastward and found themselves in the plain of Shinar and built the city of Babylon, they'd be going this way. And now that looks like east to me. So let's just go over a few things. The first place that we see all of what we have translated into English as the cardinal directions, we can see all of them used in Genesis chapter 13, and in one verse in particular. All right, so here in Genesis 13, right after Lot leaves, and it says, Yahweh said to Abraham, after Lot was separated from him, now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. And we're going to talk about those 4 directions. Now, I can't go to the Strong's page on every single one of these, but I'm going to give these Strong's reference numbers so you can look this up yourself. But we're going to start with northward. North is the Hebrew word tsephon, T-S-A-P-H-O-N. It's Strong's 6828. It's a feminine noun. The definition in Strong's is northern side, dark, gloomy, or tsephan from tsephan, properly hidden, i.e. dark, used only of the north as a quarter, and then in parentheses, gloomy and unknown. So I went and looked at tsephan, T-S-A-P-H-A-N, Strong's 6845, which is a verb. The definition, hoard, reserve, deny. A primitive root to hide by covering over. To hide, keep hidden, or a secret place. All right, now let's talk about south, as is used here. Remember I said I was going to come back to south. South, Negeb, N-E-G-E-B, Strong's 5045. It's a masculine noun. The definition, south country, side. From an unused root meaning to be parched, the south. From its drought, specifically the Negev, or southern district of Judah. Occasionally Egypt, as south of Palestine. So it's actually the Negev. The Negev is a large desert area, which would be, as I believe I have a map here, right here we see Negev. Okay, so there's this whole region here. Now that's what they're using in Genesis 13. That's what the translators are using in Genesis 13 for south. Okay, but what it originally said was Negev. But they're using it as a cardinal direction. So keep that in mind. Then for east, we have the word Kedem, Q-E-D-E-M, Strong's 6924, a noun masculine, adverb, noun. It's literally given as those three different word types. Definition, now this is interesting. The definition, aforetime, ancient time, before, east end, part, side eternal, everlasting, forward, or kidma, Q-E-D-M-A-H, from Kadam, Q-A-D-A-M, Strong's 6923, to come or be in front, meet, which is a verb. And then it says, see, Kidma. So, I saw Kidma. Kidma, Q-I-D-M-A-H, Strong's 6926. It is a noun feminine. The definition, in front of, the forward part. Then we get to west. West in Hebrew is Yam, Strong's 3220, and it is a noun masculine. Its definition is literally sea, a sea. And then they added the Mediterranean Sea, but that's not always the case because we see it in Exodus. They're talking about the Red Sea is Yam Suf, it's sea. So that's what they're applying to west, is Yam, the sea. These are translators. Translators are making these calls. So, continuing in the definition area of Yam, from an unused root meaning to roar, a sea as breaking in noisy surf. The definition of Yam is actually extremely vague, and you certainly don't get a cardinal direction out of reading the definition for it. Now, if you're in Strong's, let's say at the Bible Hub, you go to Strong's, and you go to Strong's 3220 for Yam, and you start scrolling through and looking for similar words to Yam, where Yam is the root of those words. You're going to find a number of words where Yam is the root, such as Yamin, which would be right, right hand, or south. Yamini, on the right hand. Yeman, to choose to go right. Or Yamani, right or south. So we're starting to get a picture here of maybe directions that weren't supposed to be translated as cardinal directions. So when we were talking about Bethel and Ai, which Abraham camped between with Bethel on the west, Ai on the east, I showed you how I had to take the map, which was situated in the standard way that we're told north, south, east, and west is, and I had to rotate that map counterclockwise by, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 degrees. And I did that also with the Mideastern map, so we could have them traveling from the mountains of Ararat eastward and ending up here in Shinar. And when you start doing that with all the maps, these other maps I'm going to show you, I've done that with, a lot of the directions that were given, again, here is Abraham and Lot right here, the cities of the plain are here. When you rotate this appropriately, you get an eastward direction. Now this is my Negev map. Again, in Genesis 13, when the translators say southward, they use the word Negev, and that seems like it might be a little bit irresponsible. The reason why it would probably be a little irresponsible is, going back to Genesis 13 and verse 1, it says, Abraham went up out of Egypt. He, his wife, all that he had, and Lot with him, into the south. Well, okay. So it says he went up out of Egypt into the south. If you look at this on a standard map, you know, that's situated as we would know it. So here's Egypt. Egypt's right here. And they would have been staying around the Delta area. So it says he went up out of Egypt into the south. So we're thinking that went up out of Egypt into the south, and then all of a sudden we have him back up where he originally camped between Ai and Bethel, and you're wondering, what's going on? That doesn't make a lot of sense. But if we go back to a map that is rotated like this, and we understand that the south being used there is not south, the cardinal direction, but it is the Negev area. So he went up, and you'll follow my cursor here, he went up out of Egypt into the south, they say, which is just the Negev. He went up into the Negev. Again, the directions aren't right. And when you see south, you better check and see what word it is, because if it's Negev, then that isn't an absolute. Okay, that was only relative to where Abraham was at the time. And we don't know that it meant the cardinal direction south from where he was when Yahweh was telling him to look at all the lands around him. Okay, so we're going to go into a couple of other key verses to help us understand directions and the problems with directions. We've got Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 6. It says, the wind goes towards the south and turns around to the north. It turns around continually as it goes, and the wind returns again to its courses. All right, well, in here, if you check the word south, you're not going to get Negev. You're going to get a word that is Darom, D-A-R-O-M, and it's Strong's 1864. Totally, completely different word. It's not even related to the south that we were seeing in Genesis 13. And here it says the definition is just south. So we would think south as an opposite of north. So once more, the wind goes towards the south and turns around to the north. It turns around continually as it goes, and the wind returns again to its courses. So I've got a little map here I found of wind patterns in the Middle East. Now, as you'll watch my cursor, we're going around the north coast of Africa. Okay, we've got Libya, Egypt, and then up here we would have Israel, excuse me, and Lebanon, up into Turkey. Okay, and then we would have Greece up here into Italy. All right, and then the normal way we've been taught directions: north, south, east, west. But Ecclesiastes 1 says that the wind, it goes to the south and it returns to the north. We see wind patterns here coming down and sweeping in what we would call a westerly fashion, then sweeping up in what we would call a northeasterly fashion, and continuing out what we would call easterly. So that's not really going along with the text until we rotate this. Try to rotate it somewhere in the 60 to 70 degree area like I've been doing with the rest of the maps. And then we've got, and the wind travels southward and then goes back northward and continues in its circuit. So that's really interesting. Another Bible verse I'd like to bring up real quick is in Job 26:7. It says, "He stretches out the north over the empty space, and he hangs the earth on nothing." Now, a lot of people would know this because some globe earthers try to use this as the earth being a ball spinning in space and the emptiness of space. Rob Skiba has used this to show that actually what's being said here is just that he doesn't hang the earth on anything. Not that he hangs the earth on nothing, but that he doesn't hang the earth on anything. But if we pay attention to the first part of this, he stretches out the north over empty space. I'm going to go to the interlinear real quick. Okay, in north, we have the same word for north that came from Genesis 13, and that was Tsephon, and meaning like a hidden place, okay, northern, dark, gloomy. And then empty space here is Strong's 8414. And a lot of people who have gotten into a lot of Bible studies, specifically Genesis and the creation account, would know this word tohu. A lot of people point out how the earth was formless, tohu favohu, without form and void. We get the same thing here. Tohu, formless, confusion, unreality, emptiness. So keeping that in mind, then we go back and we look at this again. He stretches out the north, meaning the hidden place, over this formless, empty space or area. Now, what that means exactly, I don't know. I'm just pointing these things out. Trying to point out that what we've come to understand about directions is not right. This, if we're thinking of north this way, south this way, east this way, west this way, isn't right. But if we flip everything, like I said, counterclockwise, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 degrees, then we're getting a lot closer to it. Now, we do that same thing with the sinusoidal, which is what Lori Frary and Lawrence Wright have been looking at and working on. And it seems like a few more people are perusing this idea as well. We'll get something that is a little bit more like this concerning what is in what directions. Now, I'm not saying this is absolutely the right way to look at directions, but it's something to think about, that what we're thinking of as having to be north or south or east or west, I don't think is right. And this kind of goes along a little bit with the video I just made about historicism and the problems there are with time and the way that we see time as it's been translated into English for us. There's a real big problem there. And and a lot is getting lost in the translation. So my hopes is with this video that other people that are interested in the map, that are interested in coming up with a more accurate map for the flat Earth and trying to figure out how these things all might work in this model, might take some of this information and go a little bit further than I have with it and start coming up with something. So this is my offering. I hope it was helpful. Until next time, God bless you guys.
If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you haven't subscribed, hit the red subscribe button. Also click on the little bell icon to get notifications of my Flat Earth videos, which I upload every day.